Hi, I'm sitting here with Terry Troutt in Odessa, Ukraine. And, with the Revive program, we want to really call on people to think of all nations. Matthew 28 wasn't just written to the younger or the next generation, but to go to all nations is really a call for all of us. And in this part of the world in Eastern Europe, it really is a first generation Christianity. Every convert in our churches today grew up in a house that didn't believe in God, didn't have the Bible, didn't pray. So really our parents and our maturing Christians right now growing up in our churches in Eastern Europe, they're really the pioneers of trying to establish a Christian household. And at times we've just felt overwhelmed in trying to understand and model this. So we've been praying for years that God would put it on the hearts of some mature Christians in America to come and spend a year, come spend 2 years, retire to this part of the world. Because what is so abundant in the maturity of the churches in the United States, there's tons of leadership and a wealth of experience. It's much scarcer in this part of the world. And God has answered this prayer with this gentleman who's sitting right next to me. And I just want him to share a couple words about what's inspired him. He and his wife are living now in Odessa, Ukraine, and helping with the church. And Sasha and Maya, who are leading the church here, are so excited to have them here. But I just think his example is worthy of consideration and definitely worthy of imitation. So Terry, can you share a few words about kind of your vision or dream or what's brought you here?
Sure. A long story, a little bit messy as far as ended up in a situation where I could retire early. My wife and I came in March of this year to visit and see the situation here in Odessa for ourselves. And I think what really struck both of us before our week was up was just the so many people, conversations that we had here in the church of that they've got all these teens, all these preteens, but very few examples that they can look to in terms of our kids went to college and they're still part of the church. Our kids are young professionals and they're still part of the church. And we don't view ourselves as anything special in that regards. And yet both of our kids grew up in the church, in Boston church. And because of the help of lots of other families, could name lots of names, the Joneses, the Shaws, the Fredericks, the list goes on and on and on. But just, they don't have a list here of people that they can go and talk to, they can go and get coffee with and get advice about their situation with their family. That was one thing that really struck Joanna and I as far as the opportunity here to share the experience that God has given us in our family dynamics and our family situation. Awesome. Another opportunity, I had worked for many years. We've been in the Boston church for over 30 years. And many of those years were with a teaching group as far as within the congregation. But a very deep bench, Shawn said, as far as the number of people. And again, it was a good thing. It was a good dynamic. I learned a lot there. But just the idea that there we had so many teachers that only a few times a year was there really an opportunity to lead a class. Here, there is no line of teachers waiting to teach. So anyway, that was very attractive
Awesome.
to me. And again, I told Sasha, I did not want to come to Ukraine to be the teacher. But if they're somehow able to facilitate a group so that I could share what I've learned and they could in turn teach, I'm all in. Anyway, so that's what I would love. Just the idea that we could, because of our small retirement from an American point of view, our pension, we're able to live comfortably here in Odessa and basically devote as much time volunteer as much time as we want to help the church in some way. How could we not go?
Amen.
My question to you would be, think about your situation. What could you do? What connections do you have? We didn't immediately come to Odessa, honestly. Anyway, again, a very long story, but for our own journey, we had seriously had discussions about St. Thomas. We'd seriously had discussions about Ecuador, several other places, and there was reasons why none of those worked out. But in God's providence, we feel like that He has brought us here.
Amen.
We're excited. This is now December, mid-December almost. of the same year. Now we've been here for like 5 or 6 weeks, and trying to figure out the next stage of our visas and all that good stuff. But anyway, very excited about the opportunity that God has given us here to serve and encourage the church here in Ukraine.
Awesome. Well, and I talked to Sasha yesterday. They've already done some incredible classes, and the Christians here are so encouraged and thankful. But bro, I really appreciate your faith and your missionary spirit. We're all missionaries no matter where we are, but what an opportunity to come to a part of the world, 20 some countries, 270 million people. And we're just on the brink of starting Christianity in a lot of these nations. And it's so great to have you here.
Thanks.
And God's going to use you in a great way. So may the Holy Spirit continue to work in all of our hearts, calling us to be as much like Christ as we possibly can. Thanks, Terry, for being here.
Sure.